Hello everyone, this is Yalda from Eat, Burn, Sleep, the online low inflammation, gut health and sustained weight loss platform. If you follow me on my social media, you probably know that I love learning, discovering new things, meeting passionate individuals. So I have decided to launch this podcast where I interview amazing people. We're going to be talking about physical health, mental health, well-being, with people who are passionate about what they do and who strive for excellence. I hope you learn from it and you enjoy it. Let's get started. Our guest today is Francesca White, who is health and beauty editor at Tatler Magazine. She's also the founder and curator at the Beauty Triangle. We will be talking skin, beauty, and about her wonderful venture, the Beauty Triangle. Hello, Francesca. Thank you so much for joining me today on this podcast. I have the very elegant Francesca White in front of me, who runs the Beauty Triangle in London and contributes in everything health and wellness at Tatler Magazine.
Hi, Alda. Thanks so much for inviting me to be on your podcast. Actually, the first podcast I've ever done, so that makes it even more special for me.
You're welcome. So, Francesca and I met when I went and attended the wonderful event she runs in London called the Beauty Triangle, so the one I came to, there was a lineup of 3 ladies. One was talking about pelvic floor health. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was so fascinating, having had 2 children and having lived in France, and I did French physio here where they really teach you to do pelvic floor exercises. I had no idea that actually in the UK people weren't as aware of it as the French, and I learned so much about pelvic floor. I mean, I knew it was important, but I've learned even more things by attending. Mm-hmm. And then there was this really interesting plastic surgeon, and she spoke about so many things. And what I thought was quite interesting is the impact of her advice, almost like a psychotherapist.
Definitely.
When it came, because she said when people come, it was mainly because there was some issue going on in their lives. And she was trying to detangle all of that to see if there was work that was needed or not, which work. And I thought, oh my God, that's so interesting. I had no idea. And then there was a third lady who was a healer.
Her role was very interesting. She was actually you're right, she was a healer, but she was also a sexual health confidence coach.
Oh, yes, I forgot about that.
And very much a sort of a life coach in every sense of the word as well. But she was a great addition to that panel. And I think every woman in the room really learned something from her. And not just sort of, physical ways to feel more sexual, but I think in terms of their confidence and how to feel more empowered. It was a great talk, that one. I'm really glad that you saw that, because I think that's really the core of what we're trying to do with the Beauty Triangle, is to bring these 3 very, well-respected, but also human practitioners at every single event together to have a conversation about health and wellness that is holistic, but also sort of helpful at the same time.
Yes, I found it very helpful. So could you explain to our listeners what exactly the Beauty Triangle is, how you came up with the idea, how you run it, how it impacts people, everything?
Down low on the Beauty Triangle.
Yes, everything, please.
So for the past 10 years, I've worked at Tatler Magazine. So I started, it was my first ever job. I started as their beauty assistant. And when I left full-time there last year, I was the health and beauty director. So within that remit, I covered everything from plastic surgery to spas, to gyms, to nutrition, to psychology. And what always stuck with me was the stuff that could really help people. I found that the longer I stayed in that job, the less I was interested in writing about lipstick and perfume. As much as they're very crucial to sort of female identity and confidence, the stuff that I really, really was passionate about was holistic health, for want of a better term, and all of those things that I mentioned. And so last year I became a contributing editor to Tatler. So I'm no longer in the office. I no longer run the beauty for the main magazine. I still continue to produce a cosmetic surgery guide. I produce a spa guide and a few other publications for them. But with this sort of new chapter in life sort of beginning, I was like, right, what can I actually do? Like, how can I take this incredible knowledge that I've amassed and, I suppose the very privileged information that I've been given by all these extraordinary practitioners over the last decade, how can I take that and actually communicate it to a wider audience? And so
amazing.
Oh, thank you. Last year, in fact, it was this time last year, it was November, I became freelance. And then I think the following month, this is kind of crazy, I went to Lanzerhof, which is an amazing Medi-spa, Lanzerhof Tegernsee in Germany. I went there for a week and it was a very good exercise in mental decluttering. And I remember doing a yoga class and it just suddenly came to me. I was just like, I need to bring all these people together. We need to be having conversations and not just a focused, this is what the latest trend in aesthetics is, or this is how to lose weight, or this is how to manage your nutrition, but really holistic conversations where you draw all of those different experts and different specialisms together. So I started mulling over this idea, and then I think a couple of months it took me probably to actually figure out what I wanted it to be. And I'm sure I stopped and started many a time thinking, no, this is silly, this isn't going to go anywhere, I'm wasting my time. But eventually I launched it in July of 2019, so about 6 months ago. We started with a monthly event at the Albright, which had recently opened a new space on Maddox Street in Mayfair. And we also did a sort of every other month event for the NED in the city, which is the event that you came to. And ever since then, they've grown, and we're planning new venues for 2020, which is exciting. And the concept is always the same. It's always 3 practitioners on a panel, always moderated by myself. And the idea, I suppose, was to educate and empower audiences, but also do it in a way that is approachable and human. And I suppose to have those conversations that I felt a lot of women particularly were not having, whether that's about injectables or whether it's about pelvic floor health. I think there's a lot that is not being discussed in the health sector still. Mental health, for example. I think there's a huge amount for us to tackle with all of the events that we put on.
Yes.
So it's exciting to see it grow.
Wonderful. What I liked about when you were talking about it is there's a parallel very much between the Eat, Burn, Sleep ethos and the Beauty Triangle ethos, which is to use all the tools you have in the box. So, for example, I am very much I live a holistic lifestyle, but I go and see the doctor regularly. If I have a health problem and I need medicine, I take it. I strongly encourage people to not rely on one or the other, but to try and make the most moderated, common sense driven, health driven choice and use a holistic life to support remission or recovery, but at the same time to use medicines if needed as crutches until they can get off them, medication that is. And you said the same about beauty. You said beauty is not, you don't have to be one extreme or the other. You can just inform yourself. So could you tell us more about this, like how you approach it, your view on it? And
I think you're really spot on in saying that everything has to be holistic. And I know you and I have had conversations in the past where we've spoken about the fact that, yes, people do sometimes address their health from an extreme, whether it's a very, very fad-related new diet, or it's a crazy workout regime, or it's excessive use of one particular acid that they're told by the skincare market that is the only thing they need to put on their face, and they overdo it and they cause significant problems. I suppose really what we need to remember is that everything comes down to moderation, and every good doctor, every good surgeon, every good medical spa will sort of tell you the same. But I think we forget about that because life is so fast and we're so locked into our phones, our digital devices. And I think sometimes when we don't have the time, we sort of latch on to this sort of miracle idea that, oh, here's the diet that in 10 days means I'm going to drop this much fat, or I'm just going to drink juices for 3 days and I'm suddenly going to be thin. And it's an unsustainable way of living. And it's not realistic, and I don't really think it brings that much joy into people's lives either, to be that controlled and that excessive. So I think you saying, we live every day and sort of balance is really key, actually. It means that whether we're addressing our skin or our emotional well-being or our weight, hopefully we are doing it in a way that's healthy and, something that we can do long term as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose you're exactly right. That's exactly what I've tried to do with the beauty triangle, and making audiences realize that, the talk that you came to, for example, was all about celebrating the female form. And we had our amazing women's health physiotherapist, Claire Bourne, who you mentioned, and she is such a source of support for women, prenatally, postnatally, and she believes passionately in the power of the pelvic floor, which I love. But I also have to be mindful with these events that not everybody is prenatal or postnatal. Not everybody necessarily needs that input. Maybe what they need the input from is somebody who is talking about aesthetic medicine or body contouring, or the surgeon who then might help us to feel more comfortable with our physique through all of the treatments and the technology. Or it might be as simple as our psychological health coach, who basically says, okay, this is how you feel in control in the bedroom. This is how you come to terms with the things in your body physically that you don't like. These are the things to think about, to remind yourself, that will make you feel more comfortable, I suppose, on the day-to-day. So I suppose it's that recognition, as much as it is about living every day in balance. It's that recognition that lots of different people and lots of different elements feed into being balanced. It's you talk about it and it actually seems quite overwhelming, and there's a lot to do.
As you were talking, I was thinking, because a lot of people that I know who had surgical procedures, what they fixed, I thought was absolutely fine. That's my eye on it. Yeah. Actually, I quite liked your nose.
Yeah.
And what I realize is, just reflecting, I realize that even myself, I don't see myself the way people see me at all.
It's so true.
To the point that I often have to ask other people. Let's say I'll ask my children between two pictures, which one looks the best. I will often think the opposite one of than what people think.
Yeah.
And sometimes I was scrolling through old photos. I'm 41.
You do not look 41. My goodness.
From years and years ago.
Your plans really work.
And I was looking at this picture thinking, oh my God, I'm not looking at it the same way at all than I was looking at it 10 years ago.
Yeah. I find that with some photos. I scroll back through my phone sometimes, and you've sort of taken loads of photos one night, and you suddenly look back and you go, those were really nice photos. Why at the time did I think that wasn't a good photo? But I think sometimes we need to give ourselves that ability to look back on things, to appreciate it. Sometimes we're so in the moment, and you're right, we fixate on the one tiny little thing, and we lose that bigger holistic sense of who we are and what the bigger picture is. I often think that the people that you find most attractive in life are the ones whose personalities are the strongest as well.
Yes.
But you find somebody's mind and their brain and their persona really beautiful, and
also who are healthy.
Yes, exactly. I think beauty doesn't come from chasing a line or a wrinkle and thinking that we've got to fashion our faces into this perfect sort of homogenized, filtered version of ourselves. I think it's much more about just being ourselves and allowing our personalities to come through.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, there's so many people. It happens often when you meet somebody and then you see them again, and the second time you see them, you're like, oh my God, they're so radiant, they're so attractive. And you say, but have you changed something? And they just tell you that they started, maybe walking more, exercising more, or just being more healthy, and just that blood flow around the body changes the pheromones, and you find them hotter.
Yeah, totally.
It's that
and your
animal
menstrual
side.
cycle contributes as well. When you're ovulating, everything in your body from an animalistic perspective, it's like it's on steroids. Suddenly everything is supercharged, and your skin is amazing and your hair is more lustrous. And I think there's a very pheromonal sort of element going on, and it goes back to the animal kingdom. It was how we were supposed to attract mates, and we were supposed to look fertile so that people would want to sort of mate and have children. And I think that's such an interesting element. It doesn't have to come from beauty, doesn't have to come from all of these sort of superficial, sort of surface level tweaks. And I'm a big believer in taking the initiative to do any surgical or non-surgical treatment that is going to make you feel like the best version of yourself. But at the same time, I think you're right. I think it's important to recognize that personality comes through, and the people that you love the most, you don't look at them and go, oh, but you have a wrinkle. That makes you unattractive. It's absolutely nothing to do with that. And all of these treatments, when they're used to their best purpose, I think it's to make us feel like the best versions of ourselves rather than trying to make us into something that we're not.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, beauty has been part of, I guess, our routine for as long as history has been going.
Exactly.
I remember as a kid, we'd go in Morocco and in my cousin's garden in Marrakesh, there were these big aloe vera plants. And we'd cut them. We were 15, as if we needed that, and sticking them on our faces. We're just doing an aloe vera mask. But it's part of, I guess, as a woman, I never wore makeup until I was 27.
Oh my goodness. I think I started when I was about 10 at boarding school.
Oh, did you?
Trying it out on all of my friends and myself.
I mean, I had some, but I don't know, I would forget I had mascara on, I'd scratch my eyes. I mean, it was a nightmare. So I would not wear it. But I was invited to this charity dinner and I had to wear a dress and I knew I had to put a little bit of makeup on. I remember going to the Armani counter at Selfridges and the lady gave me some very basic stuff. Yeah. Foundation, blush, a little bit of a pencil for my eyes and a mascara. And it was panic on board doing it. I remember I was like looking at myself with this brush, like I just looked like a man doing a makeup for like some party. But all this to come back to the fact that now I wear makeup, not every day, but I enjoy it because it makes me feel girly. Mm-hmm. So I like sitting down at my makeup table before going out to dinner, even with a girlfriend. And I always do something light. I don't wear anything heavy, but I think
amazing skin. You don't need much.
You're very kind. But it's very much beauty is part of femininity.
Beauty is a ritual as well, and that's what you just pointed out by taking that time for yourself, sitting at your dressing table and applying your makeup. I love to do exactly the same thing. I love getting ready by myself to go out.
Yes.
Sort of leave my boyfriend in another room of the house and lock myself away in the bedroom and just sit there with a nice gin and tonic and do my makeup and prepare. And it's a really important start to an evening or to an event. And I think psychologically, it's just taking that time to do something where you feel that you're investing in yourself. So it could be the ritual of doing your makeup. Equally, it could be the ritual of going for a monthly massage and realizing that is time for you away from the busyness and the digitalization and the responsibility of your day-to-day life. If you can have half an hour applying your makeup at night, or you can have an hour on a massage table and know that there are no interruptions and you just get to focus on yourself. It sounds selfish, but actually I think we've all forgotten how to prioritize ourselves. And that's really, really important because
so important.
Who else is going to prioritize us?
It's so important. So Sunday evenings or Monday evenings, it depends. I do beauty nights with myself.
That's perfect. That's exactly what you should be doing.
So I do a body scrub.
I thought you were about to say you did it with your boys. Little boys are joining.
I put the boys to bed and I generally go to the bathroom and I'll do a few face masks and I have a bath with salts and I then scrub my body because I'm half Moroccan, so I use like a Moroccan scrub mitt.
Yes.
I do that weekly and then
the Moroccan hammams are absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I've got all of those tips and tricks, I'm sure.
And then I oil my body and I go to bed.
Yeah.
And when I do that, I feel more feminine.
And I bet you also sleep better after all of that.
Like a baby.
I mean, and you'll know this being a mother of 2 boys, but the reason that babies have to have that routine before bed, they have to have their bath, they have to be dressed, they have to be talcum powdered, they have their hair brushed. It conditions them so that they have a ritual, so that by the time bed comes, they're ready for it and they're expecting it, and it's a comfort. And I think we don't lose that even in adulthood. We always want that ritualistic, I know what's happening, I'm in a safe space, I know that I'm investing in myself. But I suppose we have lost a little bit of it. And I think Sunday night, absolutely genius time to do any of this stuff. I wish I need to start carving out a Sunday night to myself.
Yeah, I do that.
Yeah.
I do that.
It's a great idea.
And if sometimes I go to the movies or sometimes I do like dinners out on Sunday evening, then I'll do it on the Monday.
Yeah.
So, but it's generally...
That's important. You're right, actually. Just not going, fine, I missed it, I'll do it next week. Going, okay, fine, Monday.
Yeah, I'll do it the next day.
It's funny, ever since I became Tatler's contributing editor and I'm no longer sort of in an office-based environment with that structure and that regime, I didn't initially know how to structure my life. And I think it's trying to find balance in your life. And as a way, I suppose, to make you feel in control. And then I spoke to one friend and she said, you've got to take Mondays off. She said she does the same thing. She's a freelance writer. And she said, I call them sacred Mondays. And I've been doing it ever since she told me this. And it's really important because a sacred Monday as a freelancer is a day where you stay at home, you focus on yourself, you focus on your writing, you set your week up, you do your to-do list, and you don't get pulled in myriad directions by other meetings and other commitments and other events that you think you should be going to. So sometimes on Mondays I feel quite antisocial, but I stay at home, I have my cat there for company, I probably drink a lot of coffee during the day.
But that's genius. So you have a 4-day week, and then it becomes sustainable.
Exactly. And it means if I've been traveling over the weekend, I do quite a lot of travel with my job. If I've been traveling and I get back late on a Sunday night, it means I have Monday to send to myself. Also, it means if I've been away, I have Monday morning to unpack, sort through all the washing. But it's a really important start to my week, actually. It sounds like Sunday night is your time to prioritize yourself. My day is sort of my Monday. And, I still do my work, but it's more about having that headspace and that time to focus.
Yes. That's so interesting. Yeah, it is. And I completely agree with you. When I used to work in an office, it was much easier because the structure is set for you. And, children, again, love routine. Adults love routine. And when you do not have a routine set for you, it is challenging because you can find yourself never stopping working.
That's exactly the problem.
Because there is no end to the office day, so you can just carry on in the evening and at the weekend, it spills over your life.
Yes.
And I have that problem myself.
You must have found that with setting up your business.
Yes.
I mean, the fact that suddenly it's your baby as well, so you pour every ounce of energy into it. But you're also very, very smart, and you obviously have high expectations of what you want to be achieving and how you want to grow this and how you want to reach people and how you can deliver the best outcome and service for them. So a lot of it does come down to, I suppose, still trying to carve out that time for yourself and recognizing that you're not going to deliver the best work unless you really are balanced and you are centered yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, I made the mistake of not practicing what I preach because I was working way too hard, and I would never advise any of my clients to do this. And I was working on the 6-week plan. I realized I hadn't taken days off in weeks and weeks, not a single day off. Of course, I got sick. I caught a cold because I caught a virus. That was in May. And then it happened again, being really exhausted in September. And then I realized that even during the holidays with my children, I would wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, go down to breakfast in the hotel, carry on working on the 6-week plan, like cramming in 3 hours before being a full-time mom started. And that's really unhealthy. And that's not what Eat, Burn, Sleep is about. So what has helped me a lot was a quote from Sheryl Sandberg.
Oh, I love that book, Lean In.
So it's a quote I read that it's something she said.
Yeah.
Done is better than perfect.
I remember, I think there was a whole chapter in her book dedicated to that.
Oh my goodness.
It's so, so true.
Maybe I should read the whole book.
Definitely read the whole book. She is phenomenal. I read that a couple of years ago, but a lot of things stayed with me. The other thing that she says, and this is just to go off on a tangent, but it was when you're looking at your career and your trajectory, and I think you're a really good example of this. And she says, I can't remember the exact quote, but she says it's not a career ladder, it's a jungle gym. As in, you don't always have to go in straight direction. You can climb, you can go side to side, you can go up. And how clever is that? I mean, I think you're the perfect example of somebody that's done that. You've come from this financial background, you have all of these amazing elements in your life, and yet you've sort of, because of your personal story, grown Eat, Burn, Sleep. And when we were talking earlier, long before this podcast, you were saying to me, God, if you told me 3 years ago I'd be doing this, I would have thought you were joking. I mean,
I could have never imagined it.
But I think something that you said actually earlier was quite interesting. The fact that you would always be working, you would never take a day off. And it made me think, actually, so much of that issue is, it's not just people who are freelance who are thinking, oh, I always need to be working, or entrepreneurs or business people who have something that they're trying to grow. It's the fact that we have devices like our phones around because everything is so accessible. And I catch myself doing it. We pick up our phone and we just go, I'm just going to quickly reply to one email.
Yes.
And you said, I've never taken a day off. And I suddenly thought, is that a full day? When I have a day off, is it supposed to be a full day? Or is it, I can still do a few emails in the morning and then I take the day off? And actually, I think it's probably just putting your phone on airplane mode.
Yes.
Going on holiday and just going, I'm only going to check my phone once this holiday, and it's to check in and make sure that everything's okay, and then I'm going to go back to living my life in balance.
And the world carries on going without us anyway.
So funny. It really, really does. It puts everything into perspective.
It does. So what are the next talks that you have organized for the Beauty Triangle?
Ooh, interesting. So where are we now? November 2019.
So this is coming out in January, actually.
Oh, okay, sorry. So I've got one coming up next week, which is all about skin, because it's a really huge psychological subject for a lot of women. So it's also been the one that I think has attracted the most attention. So as much as it will be long gone by the time this podcast comes out, it's also one that I'm planning to repeat, because I think skin is something that man, woman, regardless of age, regardless of background, everybody wants to have good skin. And I don't know if you've ever suffered with sort of skin in the past. I did once as a beauty editor. I'm very, very fortunate that I've always had fairly okay skin, nothing ever significantly, bothersome to worry about. But one of the downsides of being an editor who is trying all sorts of makeups, products under the sun, everybody breaks out at one point or another. And when your skin breaks out, it is just so soul destroying, because there are people who have this every day and my heart goes out to them. But I think for a couple of months, I just could not look at myself in the mirror, because I just thought, my goodness, I can't even walk down the street like this. Like, my skin is absolutely awful. And it took a lot of facials, some good dermatologists, and actually just some really good drugs, some strong medication to sort it all out.
Was it bacterial?
It was a result of just putting too many things on my skin. Everything got clogged. I was probably using all sorts of comedogenic, silicone-infused products. Everything got stuck in my pores. Everything erupted.
Oh my goodness,
And as I said, when you're not used to having skin that is breakout prone, suddenly you go, oh my God, I've never seen this in the mirror before.
Beautiful skin, wow.
I suppose that was a tough one to deal with. But anyway, I think skin for that reason is hugely emotional for us, and it flares up when women are pregnant, when everything else is, going haywire with their body. Suddenly their skin erupts, and that's the last thing that they need.
Skin is our biggest organ. And in fact, people who do the 6-week plan, one of the first things they talk about is their skin, because inflammation damages organs. So if you lower inflammation, you improve your skin by definition.
Absolutely.
So people, you're very kind commenting on my skin, but if I show you pictures of me 5 years ago, it was in much worse condition.
Did you suffer with breakouts?
No, but it was extremely dry. I remember going to a place called Chivasom in Thailand.
I've been. Yes.
So I love that place.
Amazing.
I'm a member there.
Are you?
And so, especially when I was ill, I would, take breaks and go there and just sleep, rest, have food, massage, treatment, stuff like that. But it's very gentle, and anything extreme, if you have a health condition, is really bad for you.
Definitely.
And they have this skin clinic there. I was not interested in that, but when you come, they give you a free...
It's the Visia scan they do for you.
Yes, that's right. So you put your face there, and they tell you all the sun damage, and you remember, my dad told me to wear sunscreen when I was 15. I get it now.
Yeah.
And they show you all your wrinkles or future wrinkles or whatever. They show you the aging process. And I went age 32, and then I went again age 36, 37. And they said to me, how
they
come...
They showed you the photos
they couldn't
from
believe,
4 years before.
Because my skin looked younger.
And that's inflammation.
Yes, they could not believe it. They're like, what did you do? I said, nothing. I'm just healthier. And they were really, because for them, if your skin looks better, you've had a procedure. I said, no, I've never done acid. I've never done a peel. I've never done anything to my face. I just do facials once in a while at Vishali, maybe 6 a year, and that's it.
And you're right, everything comes out through your skin.
Yes, and so I remember them going, that's not possible.
Isn't it funny, because you cannot hide behind, you can slap a load of makeup on top, but your skin doesn't lie, and it's, you know how they say eyes are the window to your soul. It's like your skin is the window into like your overall health. I swear you could probably tell, and I'm sure a lot of facialists and dermatologists do. There are even sort of schools of thought that different zones of your face attest to different issues in the body. I think that's sort of a Chinese medicine belief anyway. But it's interesting because all of the breakouts that I ever used to get as a teenager, as much as they weren't significant, I would have one very big spot every single month. And it was always because of my hormones. It was because of my period. And it was always on my chin or around my mouth. And then I remember, I can't remember who it was actually. It must have been a facialist saying that is the area that indicates hormones. And I suddenly
hormones
thought,
are here.
exactly,
Here's food.
The forehead.
Yeah, around the forehead if your liver is clogged up.
But all of this is so interesting.
Yes.
And imagine if there's a woman who sat in the audience of one of our talks and she struggled with persistent acne on her forehead for a long time. And then we not only have a dermatologist talking about the topicals, and we have perhaps an aesthetic doctor who's explaining like the new treatments that can help to optimize your skin. But then we have somebody like yourself or a nutritionist or whoever it is talking about actually the role of food and nutrition in your skin, because that's what I mean. You have to tackle it from a really 360-degree angle, because different subjects and different experts resonate with different audience members as well. So I think the skin talk is going to be really, really interesting. So hopefully that will be back on the agenda for 2020.
Amazing.
And yeah, so I'll keep you posted on everything else. I'm trying to think what else we have coming up. I need to get planning. We are going to do a body-focused one for the first time. I'd like to do it in February to coincide with Fashion Week and bring in a little bit of a fashion element to it. So a lot of body contouring, personal training, nutrition again. I think just that there's always an emphasis on body in January, February, isn't there?
Yes,
there's a sort of sudden realization that post-Christmas you need to still fit into your normal clothes and you're not just sitting on the sofa in your pajamas, and it's like, right, okay, get into action for the spring.
And also because those months are quite dark, you feel like you have a chance to kind of reboot before
the world can't see you just yet. Yeah,
before you can.
Bikini season is still far away.
Well, thank you so much, Francesca, for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. Gosh, that's absolutely whizzed past.
I know. I'm looking at the time. I was like, oh, we need to wrap up.
Yeah, well, we could chat forever about this, I think.
I really enjoy this. And it's true. Skin is, we could all talk about skin forever.
I completely agree.
There's so many elements to it.
Yeah.
So many elements to it.
We'll have to do another podcast all on skin.
Yes. Well, congratulations for launching the Beauty Triangle. And thank you from all of us.
Thank you.
So how can people connect to the Beauty Triangle? What's the page on Instagram? Can you share with us?
So our Instagram handle is at _beauty_triangle. Otherwise, you can follow us on www.thebeautytriangle.com. There are all sorts of links there through to our emails, through to our websites. As of next year, we've recently started filming the talks, because one of the demands from obviously people that can always get to us to be there in person was that they still wanted to obviously feel that they learned and listened to it. So we'll be filming all of next year's talks. We'll be hosting those on our website. And really Instagram's a huge sort of way of us communicating a lot of this, just because everybody is on it, and it's always a way of us sort of alerting people to what's going on in the most immediate sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyone can come and follow us and hopefully come to some of the talks as well. It'd be so nice to have some new faces there.
Well, I'm sure they would enjoy it very much. Thank you so much for today, Francesca.
Thanks, Yalda. I've loved doing this.
You care about your skin and are not on the Eat, Burn, Sleep plan yet, you should definitely check it out, because chronic inflammation really damages and ages the organs, and our skin is our biggest organ. Rosacea, wrinkles, pigmentation, acne, dermatitis, psoriasis, so many skin conditions are linked to chronic inflammation. You can head on to eatburnsleep.com and check out the Eat, Burn, Sleep lifestyle plan. Thank you to all of you for listening today. I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to go on eatburnsleep.com to learn more about gut health and chronic inflammation. I would really appreciate if you could rate this podcast, and of course feel free to share it with anyone who might enjoy it. Have a beautiful day.